Luke DeCock joins us from Raleigh. Luke, how are you, man? What's going on?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about anything other than Bill Belichick's girlfriend.
I guess down there, that is a seriously hot topic.
That's a big story down there, man.
It's kind of a big story everywhere.
He needs to go home and say, baby, you got to back off a little bit, please.
Man, you try doing that.
Hey, I would.
My favorite part of the Bill Belichick stuff is that, like, you keep getting these think pieces on, like, how did this happen? I know exactly how it happened.
Yeah.
This woman has something that he likes. I don't know what
he has something she likes.
Yeah, exactly.
Shut up.
But no, dude, we're not going to bug you about Bill Belichick's girlfriend. We want to talk hockey.
Yes.
Obviously, the Caps and the Canes play a lot in the regular season. The Canes got the better of them. I would argue there were some like extenuating circumstances surrounding most of the regular season games. How about get us up to speed with how Carolina's playing right now? Obviously, they dispatched Jersey, but Jersey was kind of bad.
Yeah, Jersey's really banged up. I mean, they were missing, by the end of that series, they were missing 4 defensemen and their 2 best players. So, you know, at the same token, you know, give the Hurricanes credit for locking down the gentleman's sweep. They took care of it in 5 games. They didn't have to go back to Jersey. Played pretty well. And look, the game they lost was a double overtime game. They probably should have won. And one of the games they won, their starting goalie got knocked out and they won anyway. So, you know, a little bit of drama, but mostly taking care of business. It's a team playing pretty well right now. Still has another level that it can get to for sure. But one of the promising signs for them is when you look at the postseasons past and their playoff disappointments, and this is going to sound a little bit like Washington pre-2018, their best players haven't always been their best players. Yep. And this year, Andrei Svechnikov has been a force of nature. Sebastian Aho scores the game winner in double overtime to eliminate the Devils in Game 5. Jacob Slavin's been terrific. You know, just the guys who you really need, the guys who you have to count on, have been at their best. And there's still a couple of guys who can raise their game a little bit, but, you know, the goaltending's been pretty good. Frederik Andersen's had, you know, basically a week now to rest up since he was very lightly injured in Game 4 in Jersey, and then Peter Kochetkov came in and won Game 5. So, you know, it's a team that's had a little break to heal up, especially in net. But, you know, the other part of it is, you know, it's a little bit similar to the Caps pre-2018. One of the big issues for the Hurricanes in the postseason in years past, certainly when they got swept by Florida in the conference finals, is the power play. Their power play was outstanding against the Devils, and they did not allow a power play goal in that series, and they scored a shorthanded goal. I think it was net +8 in special teams in 5 games. You know, when you have special teams and goaltending in the playoffs, you can beat just about everybody. They've also been pretty good at even strength.
Also, what is it that they are concerned about when it comes to the Caps? I believe when they were back in the day, everybody just expected Ovi to do it all the time. Now they have more guys that can score, which I think makes the defense have to be really, really on point.
Yeah, it's going to be a question of, you know, that they have 2, you know, they have sort of a 1A and 1B line in terms of matchups, certainly not in terms of offense. But it was a decision that the Devils kind of had to make with their top line is, you know, do you want the Ovechkin line up against Jordan Staal, who's big, grinded out, will lean on you. That line will hit. It's heavy, but is not going to generate a lot of offense. They're going to shut you down. Or, you know, if you're the Hurricanes, do you want that Aho, Svechnikov, Ovechkin matchup and say, we're going to go strength on strength here and try to beat them at their own game? So I think that's one thing that a decision the Hurricanes are going to have to make, maybe not in games 1 and 2, but certainly at home when they get to pick their matchups. And then, you know, the other part of it, I think, is as good as the Hurricanes penalty kill has been, if the Capitals power play gets hot, you know, that is such a huge weapon. And we saw, look, the Devils had one of the best penalty kills in the league. They were right behind the Hurricanes in the regular season, and the Hurricanes absolutely ripped them to shreds. So, you know, it's almost like momentum. Some of this stuff carries over from playoff series to playoff series. Some of it doesn't. But I think, you know, the number one thing hockey-wise would be the Capitals power play. And look, there's also, we all know it. We saw the bad blood during the regular season. There's a physical element to this.
Yeah.
You know, we saw it in 2019 when they played Ovechkin challenging Svechnikov to a fight. Tom Wilson always. You know, ironically, the biggest hit of that 2019 series was Warren Fogle, who you would not exactly describe as an enforcer, knocking TJ Oshie out of the series with a hit it was awkward. It wasn't Fogel's fault that Oshie lost his footing, but it was, it ended up having some nasty consequences for Oshie. But that was a physical series. And, a big side plot of that series was Dougie Hamilton stepping out of Alexander Ovechkin trying to run him. And once it cost the Hurricanes a goal, the other time it kind of embarrassed Ovechkin. So, that won't be an issue this time. The Hurricanes are a more physical team. They certainly have learned in the last 5 or 6 postseasons not to retaliate, which was a big issue for them against, they played the Bruins 3 times, and the Bruins were always in their kitchen. And they played the Panthers, and the Panthers were always in their kitchen. The Devils, Eric Halla and Timo Meier tried some of that, and it just didn't work. So this is a more mature team, and it has bigger forwards than they've had in the past. Look, like William Carrier, Eric Robinson, guys like that, Mark Jankowski. They have a bunch of guys who are 6'2", 220 pounds. Jordan Stahl's always been a big dude. They're willing, especially on the forecheck, to go and hammer your D. I don't think that was necessarily true in 2019. I don't think the Hurricanes, they would get on the Capitals D and hassle them, but I don't think they had the physical threat they have now. So the key for them is obviously don't get antagonized, don't get pulled into stuff after the whistles, keep your discipline, and then keep your head on a swivel, because the Caps, whether it's Duhaime or obviously Wilson or whoever else, they are going to be trying to hit you, and you need to be prepared for that. I think probably they are. But that's still one thing to say you are and another to go out on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
All of our Caps coverage is presented by Ace Computers. Ace Computers proudly recommends Windows 11 Pro for the U.S. military, made in America. Check out acecomputers.com now. And don't forget, in about 15, 17 minutes, we're giving away tickets to Game 1.
Oh, yeah.
Game 1 here tomorrow night, Caps Canes. It's going to be awesome. We are on the Rude Guest Hotline with our friend Luke DeCock, sports columnist for the Raleigh News and Observer. And Luke, your latest column is the headline, "Bad blood may not carry over, but Canes and Caps have reasons to hate each other." I think that's pretty accurate and kind of setting the tone for what I expect in this series. One question I always have, because I think this series is going at least 6. Like I don't think this is going to be a gentleman's sweep on either part. There's going to be some dude on Carolina, and granted, we kind of know Carolina from all the regular season games, but one dude will emerge as the player the Caps fans hate.
Villain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's your prediction?
I think the way he's playing right now, it's going to be Andrei Svechnikov. Obviously there's the history with him and Ovechkin. Can
I say something real quick on that?
Yeah.
You said something earlier that I'm not sure I agreed with. He came after Ovi in that fight. That wasn't really Ovi trying to pick that fight.
Well, you got to understand, this is a guy who idolized Ovechkin. You could argue he bit off more than he can chew. That was mutual. It
seemed like Ovi was like, "You sure you want to do this, dude?"
there was Russian alpha dog stuff going on in that fight that we will never understand.
That's what it was.
And the thing is, Svech still, I mean, they're more peers now. I don't want to idolize it, but I would say that Svech still has the exact same level of respect for Ovechkin that he had going into that. Coming out of it, it's like he was just like, "Yep, that's it." And his attitude, it wasn't like he came out of that saying, "I hate that guy." It was just exactly the same. Yeah. But hey, it happened, and Svechnikov is hitting people, and he's been aggressive on the forecheck. He leveled some big hits in the Devils series. He's scoring goals. He's being the most effective version of himself, and the most effective version of himself does tend to get people a little pissed off because he is going to rattle guys. And he is going to play, a pretty physical game, and he's big and he's strong and he can hit people. He's an easy one. The other one is just because he's so infuriating at times. Is Jacob Slavin, because he's a Lady Byng winner. He's one of the cleanest players in the league, multiple Lady Byng winner. But he does things that are just so baffling that you just get so frustrated. Mm-hmm. He's just a wizard with this stick, and he can disarm guys on the rush in tight quarters. He's one, not because he's a dirty player or because he's going to hit people necessarily, but you just get so frustrated going against him. And the other one, obviously, we talk about bad blood not spilling over, but Jalen Chatfield is not a very popular player among Capitals fans already. Now, this is a third pairing defenseman, so this is not a star or anything like that. And his argument was, look, man, we're in a fight. I got to do what it takes to win the fight. And even, Spencer Carver even basically said, look, I didn't like it. You want to be careful when the guy's in the helmet, but, it's two guys fighting, stuff happens. But he answered for it. Duhane came after him in Washington. He answered for it. It was what it was. But, when you have a series between two teams that had 100-plus penalty minutes in one game and really 30 years, of Southeast Division bred dislike between the two franchises, there's going to be flashpoints.
Yeah.
I think Svechnikov is the most likely one because he's the most willing. He was in 2019, and he will be again now.
Yeah, you're supposed to not like each other when you play them all the time.
Yeah, man. I think this is going to be a great series. What is the feeling down there? What are you predicting in this one?
Yeah, I think the feeling's pretty good. And one big reason is this is the first time, really probably since 2019, that the Hurricanes have reached this point in the postseason with a full roster. Freddie Anderson missed a game and a period or two. But Svechnikov was out in 2013. Max Pacioretty was out in 2013. Teuvo Teravainen got hurt in 2024. Or I guess that was 2023 too. But guys have been hurt. Guys have had long-term injuries. They were missing Jesper Fast last year. He got hurt in the 82nd game of the regular season. Freddie Anderson's been banged up, really kind of struggling to get through playoff series. He's not right now. So it's a healthy team. So it's really not the same Hurricanes that we've seen in the playoffs. You combine that with the special teams and the way they're playing right now. If they can carry that over, I think it's probably Canes in 6. If the special team sort of resets to 0 and they don't have the same success on the power play and penalty kill, then I think we're probably going 7, just like in 2019. And then it's kind of anybody's series. But if they can keep up their success on the special teams and Freddie Anderson can stay healthy, I do think the Hurricanes are really in a pretty good groove right now.
It's going to be interesting to watch. Luke, thank you very much for the time, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Luke DeCock from the Raleigh News and Observer, sports columnist down there. He likes the Canes. I get it. He's from down there.
Yeah.